This is the plaintiff, Kent McCrae. He says the defendant is the daughter of his ex-girlfriend, and he loaned her his car. She forged his name on the title, had a notary lie, and now won't return it. If that weren't bad enough, she also took a hammer to his motorcycle, tore out all the wires, and destroyed the thing. Some people. He's suing for the $3,040.66 he's owed. This is the defendant, Carissa Bandy. She says she was dating the plaintiff, and he sold her the car for $100 and signed the title over to her. The problem and the reason for this lawsuit is simple. The plaintiff is still in love with her, and he also wants to get back at her mom because she evicted him. Bottom line, she bought the car from him, did not wreck his piece of junk motorcycle, and owes him nothing. She's accused of vexing an ex. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $1,000 for slander.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Leontown presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. McCrae, I'm confused. Who exactly were you dating, her mother or her?
I was only dating her mother. Her little affair went on a lot of years ago. She seemed to side with her mother.
Wait, what do you mean her little affair? Did you used to date her?
We had an affair, and that was the extent of it.
That was how long ago?
Probably 5 to 6 years ago.
And then you started dating her mother?
I was dating her mother basically at the same time, and lived with her mother for 8 years.
Just a second. Maybe this is normal to you people. It's not normal to me, so I'm trying to understand. You dated the mother and the daughter at the same time?
No, it wasn't a dating of the daughter. I was living with the mother, and I just happened to have an affair with the daughter. That was all there was to that.
You don't find anything strange about that?
Well,
what about you? You find anything strange about that? Were you sleeping with your mother's boyfriend?
Ma'am, I had 3 children at the time. I was on drugs. I was in survival mode. I was sleeping with him for money to help pay my bills and to support my habit. My mother was also on drugs, and he was dating my sister also at the same time.
It's a complicated.
Yeah, it's a complicated
Is it? Because it seems pretty simple.
It is.
Yeah,
it's very sick
it seems like
toxic.
relatively simple. Yeah, it is. How is everybody doing now with their drug abuse?
I have 6 years clean from heroin. I just had a baby a year ago. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I left my husband. We've been separated for 4 years. I am in a domestic violence home. They have got me property for me and my 4 children. So that's where I'm at right now. I am still in a methadone clinic. And I've had to switch methadone clinics because of this man has been putting me down, saying I'm on drugs, that I'm stealing from him, that I don't take care of my children. It's just so embarrassing to be associated with someone of this sort. My mother did not raise me like this, and he was playing us all 3 of us at the same time.
But you knew, when you say he was playing you, you knew he was your mother's boyfriend, and you were prostituting yourself to him.
My mother went to prison, and that's when we kind of was, having our little affair that lasted about 4 years. Off and on. He would be waiting at my house for my children to leave from school with 5 caps of dope every morning. I'm just mind-boggled over all of this.
All right, let me ask you a question, Mr. McCrae. You're suing because, according to you, you loaned her a vehicle and she falsified the title and registered it in her name. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, and registered the plates as well. Now, everything she's just said is a lie. Her husband has been around this whole time. I had to put a restraining order on him personally last month, almost 2 months ago, because he was starting trouble because of her. And that's for that whole situation.
Mr. McCrae.
He has been living with her
Mr.
the whole
McCrae,
time.
why was your car in her possession?
I had loaned it to her So because she needed to get her tax return to buy a new vehicle for herself. So for 3 months before that, I loaned her that vehicle, and and then after I was evicted and everything, she automatically put the title in her name and registered the plates and took off with it like that. That's exactly how it happened.
Let's back up a second. When you say evicted, what is it you mean?
Well, it all started with lies to get me evicted from my home. And I was living with her mother. They falsified a domestic violence charge to basically get me out of the house. And it went to court, and the judge dismissed it as far as that goes. There was no domestic violence involved. I had 2 police reports that proved myself innocent.
Whose home was it?
Her mother's apartment. But I lived there for 8 years, so I assumed it was my home.
So the mother, well, I don't know, that doesn't give you a right to assume anything, but so the mother filed a domestic violence injunction against you, and the cops removed you pursuant to the injunction?
No, ma'am. I had the police come by twice to give me protective, to make my statement, and it was this virus that really kind of held it up. I would have left earlier if it wasn't for this pandemic.
Okay. So now, according to you, you asked Ms. Bandy to give you back the car when?
Well, after I was evicted, I went over to look at the vehicle, and the plates were registered to her. And I called the police and tried to get a report, but I couldn't get a copy of the title until the License Bureau had opened back up. So I've got my Exhibit A, which is the title with a forged signature, and it has the Notary Public on it as well. So with that being said, that Notary Public is going to be another situation for another day. But she blatantly, if it wasn't for the Notary Public, none of this would have taken place. The vehicle was, Exhibit B is that the vehicle is registered to me. And my Exhibit A is that this is the title that was forged. That is not my signature. And the Notary Public had never met me, saw my license or anything. So wherever she got this Notary Public to deal with, that's going to be another case.
Can I ask you a question, Ms. Bandy? Tell me the circumstances under which you got this car, because it was registered in his name.
My mother bought it 3 years ago for $500, okay? My mom had lost her license. It had got put in his name, okay? Temporarily until my mom got her license back, okay? So the cops would not mess with them. They kept getting pulled over, for not having a licensed driver, okay? So my mom wrecks it in December, right? Messes it all up. So I said, my daughter is about to turn 18. I'll give you guys $100 for it because it needs a lot of work. Ball joints, TV joints, it's a car that needs a lot of work. Okay. So it was always in my possession. He is a lie. My mom, like I said, it was parked at my house because the tags had expired in January. I didn't have money to get the tags transferred over in my name until I got my income tax. That is true. He signed a title. I gave him $100. He lived at my mom's house for 6 months, didn't work, was strung out on heroin. He had a crack dealer in the house. He cannot lie about being in there. And that's the whole reason we evicted him, because he was not paying bills. Could I please speak? He was not paying bills. He was on drugs. There was no
Can I ask you a
electric in the
question?
home.
Who is next to you? Who's next to you?
My mother.
I'd like to hear from her.
Yes, Mom. Here, I'm going to move over. Here. Yes, Mom. Hello. Yes.
We're gonna have to. Does she have earphones? Okay, great. Can you swear in, please?
Yes.
Can I get you to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth,
Yes.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor.
Whose car is this?
It is my daughter's car, but originally it was mine for $500, and I was going to a job and hit black ice and wrecked it, and she knew I had a lot of work to be done, so she offered $100 for it to fix it up for my granddaughter. And with all his lies and stuff, he was supposed to pay electric, DP&L, and gas, and he failed to do that. And the electric and gas was turned off in the middle of the winter. And I asked him to please leave, and he wouldn't, so I had to do it. through the court system. And he's still married. I found that out. I did not know that. Or I wouldn't have let myself fall in love with a loser, married loser.
Judge,
That's the bad part,
vehicle
right?
itself-
The married part, not anything else you've explained, like the fact that he was
this,
sleeping with
yeah.
your daughter, or okay.
Yeah.
All right,
On
let
the
me
down low.
let me
I
ask
didn't
you
know
a
all
question.
Yes.
When did you find it out?
It was right after it happened.
Okay.
You know, they can't
All
be
right. I
sneaky.
want to make
She
sure
was
you
on
didn't
the
find out from me.
telephone. No, she was
How'd
on
you
the
find
phone
out?
with him. She was on the phone with him, and I could hear. I said, "Is that kid?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he was asking her, "Do you want to go meet somewhere? I got $60." And she said no, but he didn't know. I was sitting there listening the whole time. So that's what I said. I'm done. I know everything.
That's
too
been
much.
8 years ago.
No,
Judge,
it
that's been 8
wasn't.
years ago. And her and I worked and bought that car together. She never paid $500 for that
No, he
vehicle.
did not.
It was a job that we did together, and that's how we acquired that car.
I have a letter stating that he sold it to my mother for $500 3 years ago. That's
Who
the sad
signed the
thing.
title?
Kent did. He was on drugs. Okay, he was so sick that day, snot running out his nose. He got kicked out of the methadone clinic.
Oh my God,
And
you're
he's
such
like,
a
please give me
liar."
the $100, this and that. I said, Kent, I only got $120. So I was like, you know what? I'm giving you my only $100. Sign this title over. And he scribbled it all sloppy like that. And we went. I said, we're going straight to the notary. And he went to the notary because she don't do it without seeing our driver's license. And that's the truth.
Hey, listen to this. That is not a sloppy signature. That is a very carefully done signature, and it is not mine.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Wow, this is something. So the question, did the defendant steal the plaintiff's car and take a hammer to the plaintiff's motorcycle? Let's go back into the courtroom and find out.
I got to tell you, when I look at the signature on the title, it doesn't look like his other signatures. Now, granted, every time he signs, it looks a little different. He's a little bit sloppy on the signature. But it really doesn't look like his signature. It's super, super teeny tiny, and he doesn't sign teeny tiny. Mr. McCray, I am concerned about how the testimony has developed about whose car it was to begin with. Because if it's just in your name because she lost her license, that doesn't really make it your car, does it?
It was both of our
Be honest.
vehicles, so we both worked for it.
Tell me what happened with the motorcycle. Apparently you had it parked in front of the house, and you left it there
No,
when
it
you
was in the
when you
garage.
were okay. But why are you
was
leaving it
parked in the
behind
garage.
when you? Why are you leaving
was
it
totally
behind if you're
destroyed.
being? When did it get destroyed? Before you were removed by the sheriffs, or after you were removed by the sheriffs pursuant to a restraining
exactly,
order?
right after I removed. I could
So you
only
left
take
it behind.
a suitcase with me when that sheriff made me leave. Just for the
Okay,
moment, yes.
so you left.
But they
all
said I
right.
could come back and
so,
get it.
So when did you come back to get it and realize that it had been damaged?
Like that next week, it was totally destroyed.
And
I took
so
a
you
washer
come
dryer,
and
it was
where-
mine as well.
Where you come back the next week, and where do you find the motorcycle?
Pushed out onto the curb, destroyed.
And you.
And it's been
all
locked
right,
in that garage
now,
for 5 years.
why was it locked in the garage
Because-
for 5 years?
It did not have any plates at that point.
What were you doing with it that you weren't using it? Why didn't you get it to have license plates?
Yeah, it was just
What
in
was the
storage.
problem?
I mean,
Because
it's
she
just-
says that the
it was
problem,
not-
according to you, it was a stolen motorcycle, correct?
Yes,
Ms.
it
Bandy?
was. He could
So
not
according to
attach-
her,
yes,
it was stolen.
And that is a lie. I was with her mother when I bought it. I paid $300 for it, and I put $1,100 in work in it.
Ms. Bandy, what happened to this motorcycle? Because it truly does look like someone took a knife to it.
I don't know. I did not touch the bike. It was not in
Well,
my
someone
possession.
took a hammer to the thing.
I don't-
Someone took a
someone-
knife
it was
and a hammer
parked
to
in-
the thing.
It's been out
Yeah,
I did
no,
not
that's
touch the
kind of
motorcycle.
rage. That's like rage damage, absolute rage damage. Ms. Bandy,
I
who
did
did
not
this
touch
to
it.
the
Okay, well,
motorcycle?
I don't know who did it, ma'am. There is a lot of vandalism going on. I have no clue. Honestly, I didn't touch it. And I'll take a lie detector
Let me
test
talk
for that.
to your
I did
mother.
not touch it.
Okay.
Did you bash and cut this thing?
No, I did not.
Well, who did? Come on. Whoever did it, like, was real angry. It's not like this is an
Yeah.
accidental thing.
He has a lot of enemies in my neighborhood.
I have none.
He's tried ripping people. He's tried ripping them off. He's looking in women's keyholes in my apartment building that has children, and one of them caught him doing that and texted me and said, I just caught him looking in Jenna's keyhole trying to see in her apartment. Is he some kind? I said, I'm evicted him. I'm doing the best I can, all I can legally. And so I have no idea who would do that.
Why are you lying, Teresa, so like that? Why are you lying like that? I was with you the whole time.
I didn't see no one.
Her granddaughter lived with us for years and never had a problem in the world.
Mr. McCray, can I ask you a question?
Him pulling a gun on my daughter. He pulled a gun on my daughter and her boyfriend. Come on now. Come on now. A 16-year-old girl, you pulled a gun on her. Come on now, man. This guy is...
Go ahead, Judge. Go ahead, Judge, please.
Can I ask you a question, Ms. Bandy? How old was your daughter when you were strung out on drugs and hooking with your mother's live-in boyfriend in order to get more drugs?
I had a 10-year-old daughter of my sister's that I've been raising. She had in prison. Plus, I had an 8-year-old.
What was wrong with your sister that you would be raising her child?
She was in
drugs
prison.
Also?
Yes, and that is who Kent was dating too, Valerie, and he's still with her. And he's with my sister's sister-in-law.
She has her own boyfriend.
Who put the motorcycle on the street?
I did, Teresa.
How did you do it? On your own?
I pushed it. Yeah. I have a key and you just unlock it and just push it. Drop the clutch, that's it. It didn't have to be started.
And when did you bash it?
I didn't bash it. Myself, I did not.
When did you notice that it was bashed and broken and ripped into with a knife and everything else?
Like about a week after I put it out there.
You got evicted, so you got her evicted from her home because it was a subsidized housing, and he kept calling saying, well, I lived there for 7 years. She ain't supposed to have nobody living there. My mom is homeless now because of him. I'm not even joking. He's called my housing and trying to get me evicted, and yeah, thanks, Kent. My mom is 63 years old, homeless.
I never did anything like that, Carissa.
You didn't call Miami Valley Housing?
As you go along. No.
You didn't call Miami Valley Housing?
Only to see if I could stay there when your mom was trying to throw me out because of the pandemic. I wish we did have a polygraph available. That would just probably work out the best for everybody.
Ms. Bandy, you have a countersuit against him for $1,000 for what?
For pain and suffering. He has called my landlord telling him that I have my husband selling meth out of my house. He's saying that I'm back on drugs. I have so many people. I've lost jobs because I do home care. He's telling, people's like, shame on you for doing that to that old man, stealing his car and stuff. I have people turning their backs on me. I have 6 years clean.
Can you prove anything that you're saying about the slander?
Yes, my landlord wrote a statement saying that he's got calls from him, saying that I'm on drugs and everything.
I've never known your landlord. I've never known your landlord.
Yes, you have talked to Jim numerous occasions. I'm in a domestic violence program, and I can't even have my mom stay all night with me and help me. I have a 1-year-old daughter, and I have a 6-month-old granddaughter, and I can't even have guests.
We're done. Do you have any proof that they damaged the motorcycle?
Well, there was a camera across the street, and I asked the guy if he had any video from it. He didn't get anything, so that was a no.
Okay. And I need more than that in order to tell people that they have to pay $1,000-something. So as far as your lawsuit against them on the motorcycle, I feel it's insufficient evidence. And as far as your lawsuit against her on the vehicle, I feel that with what I've heard from both sides, that the vehicle was, I don't know who signed that title, but I don't know that it was your vehicle. And I gotta feel like it's 100% your vehicle for you to win the value of the vehicle here. And I'm just, based on everything that I'm hearing, I don't think it's sufficient, and I'm ruling in favor of the defendant. On your countersuit, you have on your countersuit against him for slander. It doesn't make out a $1,000 lawsuit that he has to pay you just because he complains to your landlord. You have a letter here from someone who says that he denies it, but that says that he was saying all kinds of things about you. You people need to get out of each other's lives. You guys need to get out. Ms. Bandy, stop talking. Mom, stop talking. Mr. McCray, stop talking. Y'all need to get out of each other's lives. I mean, for good. You are poison for each other.
Toxic.
Good luck, folks.
Hey, it's a huge honor. I'm a huge fan. You're gorgeous, beautiful. I love you, Judge Millian. And it's in rule in my favor because truth prevails.
Well, in this really wild case involving the theft of a car and the destruction of a motorcycle and a crazy series of relationships, nobody gets anything. It's a 0-0 tie. Let's talk to Mr. McCray, the plaintiff. Mr. McCray, how do you feel about this? You don't get anything, not a penny. What do you think?
Well, I just hope we stay away from each other. She's caused more harassment to me when I was homeless for a couple of months. She was constantly driving by my van and harassing me. And her mom was with her half of the time. I just wanted them to leave me alone. That's why I tried to put a restraining order on her. And I didn't even get that originally. But if she just leaves me alone, I'll be happy.
Well, that's what the judge thinks you ought to do. I got to ask you, a lot of people would want to know, how could you live with yourself carrying on a sexual relationship with the defendant as well as her mother and her sister all at the same time? How do you do that?
Well, it wasn't so much that. It was just probably maybe being lonely. I don't know. The mother probably didn't adequately, suffice any needs that somebody might have. So maybe you look for love elsewhere. That's about it.
Well, maybe so. Let us turn now to the judges.
This case was explosive right from the beginning. It's a little unusual to walk into the courtroom and find out that you've got someone here, a litigant, who has had an affair with mom and mom's daughter and another, maybe
And a
another,
sister.
and a sister. 3 people in the family. Here in Miami, you would call that person un sinvergüenza.
Un sinvergüenza, someone with no shame. Exactly. Well
Oh
put.
my goodness. Anyway, as far as the handwriting went, you were looking at the title to that motorcycle and trying to sort out, well, who actually signed it. And a lot of people think that when you go to court, you have to have a handwriting expert for question documents or for a handwriting comparison on a signature. That's not the case. Lay opinions are admissible in virtually all courts on that question. If you say, hey, I know the signature of Joey Bag of Donuts, and you get a check signed by Joey Bag of Donuts,
Right. You can testify
say,
to
yeah,
whether
that's his signature.
that looks
I've
like
seen
his
it a million
yeah,
times.
Right.
But in this instance, I think there's a little more going on here than just whether the guy signed it. You had deeper questions.
I have deeper questions. But the thing is, if it's not his car to begin with, then he can't get paid for it.
Right.
And I really didn't think it was his car to begin with.
Right, I got that impression.
Yeah.
And then finally, you had the Kawasaki.
What did you think?
I mean, it was unclear that he actually owned it from
Yeah.
the beginning. It was very sketchy. But as far as the motorcycle goes, you showed photographs of the motorcycle. No question in your mind, the motorcycle did not die a natural death.
No, it did not.
So Artheta wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, if you have a written contract and they verbally make changes, do you have to hire a lawyer to put those in writing too? God, I love this question. Here's the thing. If you have a written contract, do not rely on an oral change. It should be in writing. You don't always need a lawyer. It depends on what the change is, but you could make it as simple as writing it into the contract and both of you initialing it. Do not rely on an oral change to a written contract. Get the change in writing. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case inside the courtroom right now.